Hello,
Hi.
hello, hello. Hey, Shan. Hey, everybody. Who's here? Say hello. If you're tuning in, I am Zevzan.
And I am Shannon Malkin Daniels.
Welcome to this broadcast because we're going to talk a little bit about Va-Va-Vrooming your virtual events. You're probably wondering, like, ooh, Va-Va-Vrooming. Yes, we are Va-Va-Vrooming your virtual events because we do get a lot of questions about organizing, planning, managing virtual events, right, Shan?
Absolutely. And even though I run a tech company for events, we still get a lot of questions from our customers, from just in general people we talk to out there about how do you take this virtual event? How do you use this platform? How do you do this in a way that makes it more engaging, more exciting, drives greater ROI, all of those great things? It's one thing to have the technology. It's a whole nother ballgame to design around it and build an amazing experience. And that's what we're here to talk about. Get that Va-Va-Vroom in your virtual event.
Va-Va-Vroom. So, folks, if you're here with us, even if you're watching this on replay, maybe you're busy on this Monday morning, evening, midnight, wherever you are in this world. If you're catching this on replay because you're like, oh, that's good stuff, but I can't stay on for long, that's okay. Just come back to the stream, and that would be live.va-vroom. I'll put it up in shortly because I didn't get a chance to do that. But you can just go to live.va-vroom.com and you'll be able to watch the replay and still ask questions because we will try to get through a lot, but we have 30 minutes. We just scheduled for 30 minutes. But if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments and we can, wherever you're catching this live broadcast, and then we'll, either Shannon and I would just, catch and follow up your questions there. Sounds good? All right. Shan, we talk about, so today we're talking about Va-Va-Vrooming your virtual events. What are some of the questions that we get from our audiences, right? So whether it's a customer, a client, or a community members, I think I have three things that I want to, put up here on screen. Hey, Carlos, good morning, good morning, good morning. Our friend Carlos is here. He's one of our producers that we work with, and he's our in the community. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you here. So one of the big questions that people ask us is how to make a virtual event more engaging. Shannon, get us started on this question. I mean, you and I, we get this a lot. We've been doing a lot of, virtual event production, and we do get this question a lot, right? Because you go like, how do we get people, how do we make our virtual events more engaging?
Yes. Number one tip here, it's kind of like a do not instead of a do. Do not just stream out. Make it exciting, make it engaging, get people interacting with you in the comments. And in fact, I'm going to ask you to do that right now. I want you, whether you're listening live or you're watching the replay for this, I want you to drop in the comments right now. How do you make your virtual events more engaging? Because getting people involved in the conversation, making them part of it, not having them just be spectators like they're watching a television show, is going to pull your virtual attendees into the event and make it much more engaging right out of the gate. So don't just make it about sit and watch me talk at you for an hour or two. Make it about participation, interaction. Use those tools at your disposal. In virtual, we have great tools like polling and questions and gamification and all of these great things. And Steph, I know you are the master of being the virtual hype maven here. Can you share some tips for using some of those tools like polling and chat and questions and all those things to really get that hype going with your audience?
Yep. Folks, one of the things that you must remember as an event organizer, planner, host, right? One of the things, and I think in this world that we live post-pandemic or still in pandemic, right, Shannon, is the fact that we're still thinking, how do we bring people in the room with the people in the virtual rooms and kind of connect and have engagement? And one of the things that we all must remember is, we want to chat, and it takes a little bit of doing and I think practice, and Shannon and I, we've done this a lot. If you have people in your virtual rooms with you chatting in the site side panel, because most of our virtual events have a side chat, right? Don't forget to acknowledge them. Say hello, ask them where they're tuning in from, and just don't go like, and start talking and presenting, because this is one of the things. And Shannon, I know you work with speakers a lot. One of the things that speakers tend to forget, especially if they're not used to presenting in virtual events, they're just thinking about the presentation, right? They're thinking like, I got to get through this presentation, and and they forget like there are people in the sidelines waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to hear from that. Hi, Shannon. Welcome, Shannon, from Wichita, Kansas City, whatever, right? Or Toronto, Canada. People want to hear that. Do that. And if we're not doing that, we're not engaging. Because I'd be like, all right, there's only 10 people in the chat. You can't say hello to me. Like, hello. Right? So I think
acknowledge them. Let them know. I see you. I see you out there, Carlos. I see you.
I see you. What questions do you have? Do you like this? Or do I have spinach on my teeth? It's okay to say that. And I think many of us, right, Shannon, because we think, oh, these are virtual events, and we get crickets on the sideline. Don't let those crickets go so loud that you are not engaging and acknowledging the people in the room that are not on camera with you, because this is very important. People often ask us, and I say like, did you acknowledge those people in the sidelines who showed up for you? And they go like, oh no, because I don't know how to do that. Well, learn. Learn, right?
Questions aren't just from the audience to you. Use the questions. Ask your audience questions. Like asking, we want to know, we want to hear from you. What do you do to help make your virtual events more engaging, right? And also, yes, Seth, use polls. Polls are a great way to break the ice, because people can often be shy, just like in a real live in-person setting where people get shy and nervous to be the first one to raise their hands, to ask a question, to say something out loud or add a comment. I mean, there's usually at least one in the crowd that'll be happy to stand up. I have to admit, I can be that person. But to kind of break the ice, doing polls, asking questions where people can submit their answers via the technology you're using, whether it's that in-person technology, that virtual technology, that hybrid technology, you can use those polls to start to break the ice and get people thinking about things. And by you also asking your audience questions, it gets them to engage in the chat with you, and then it gets their juices flowing for questions to ask you in return.
And I think the other thing that we often, as organizers and planners, right, what we often overlook, the power of having people show up on screen, on camera. This is very important for the engagement part. So folks, if you're just tuning in, we are here in this broadcast, Va-Va-Vroom, your virtual events, because we get a lot of questions about how do you make the virtual events more engaging and all of that stuff. And Shannon and I are right now answering this question, which is how to make a virtual event more engaging. We talked about engagement in the sideline with this live chat, right? You can leverage polls. You can leverage a lot of things, tools that probably my phone. Oops, sorry, I forgot to switch that off.
Phone.
Yeah, I know. So one of the things as planners and organizers, think about how can you allow the people to come on screen with you, because some presentations, right, Shannon, that we've learned, the speakers or the hosts, I mean, the way the room is set up, we don't need all attendees to be on camera. However, we can pull a few key attendees to maybe, give their feedback or brainstorm or mastermind on camera. And I think that's a great way to engage the audience a little bit more. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. And this can be used as a great way to get early engagement as well, which the event isn't just the event itself. We try to encourage people to think about the event as the before, during, and after, to go beyond just the half day or the day or the 3 days or week-long event itself and expand out past that. And really, engagement is about, it's more than just interaction, right? Interaction is easy. Interaction is clicking a button, giving a thumbs up, asking a question, quickly answering a poll, right? And interaction is a piece of engagement, but engagement means something deeper, right? You think about when you get engaged engaged to someone when you're getting married, right? It's being invested in that relationship and building that relationship. So doing things like pulling people on and stuff, you can even use that as a before the event incentive. Sign up early and you can be one of the people to win an opportunity to be on camera, to get your questions asked by this special VIP keynote, right? Different things like that. Or instead of making it a full hour-long session with just the presenter on or just the presenters and moderators on, start out that way and then move to a room where you can put audience members on screen. We've been seeing a lot of success and a lot of engagement with people starting out with a 20 or 30-minute presentation and then with just the presenter on screen or the presenters on screen or the panel on screen, so that it's not disruptive by having all those other attendees on screen, and then moving to a room where everybody can come on screen and you build it out into a meet and greet or a mastermind or something, a discussion-based session where the attendees can get involved in it. And when you get the attendees involved and you make them part of the conversation, they become so much more engaged. So yes, that I absolutely agree with that. And you can use that in a lot of different ways to help your event be more successful.
And I think it comes down to when you actually do those virtual events, managed plan, just don't think about your attendees as spectators.
Yes.
Think about them as participants, right? How can you get them to participate and get involved? Because sometimes when I attend virtual events, I'm like, yep, I have something to add to that. Hello, yep. Does anybody see me in this room? Hello. If I'm not in the live chat, right, I will ask, hey, are you all taking, seats on camera? Or are you allowing people to show up and have a conversation? Because I think is very important in virtual events. That's how we make it more engaging. It is about more engagement, right? So we're just not watching, but we're also participating. And I think that makes it a little bit more of a, engaging event,
Yeah. And we want you, I mean, we could talk about engagement, obviously, this entire 30 minutes, but we have a couple of other questions we'd like to get to. But we want you in the audience here, whether, again, you're tuning in live or you're watching this on demand later, drop for us in the comments here. What do you do? What are some of your little tips and tricks to drive participation and engagement? What are some of the things that maybe you haven't done as an event organizer, but an event that you attended that you loved and just made you really excited about that event? Like, for example, Zeph mentioned that the hybrid aspect of how do you make the virtual attendees feel like they're part of it? Something we did really creatively at Dr. Davia's event recently with the encaptiv technology is we took and we set up a networking station at the in-person event and opened up one of the social rooms in encaptiv and invited the virtual audience in the breaks between sessions to come on screen. And we had cameras set up and lights set up where the in-person attendees could come and sit down in front of the computer and network with the virtual attendees. And the feedback that came from that was we felt so much more involved and not like we were just watching it. So think of those creative ways you can bring your audiences together. So we want to hear your tips and some of the creative things you've seen that have been really engaging, either as a participant or organizer.
Drop in the comments, everybody, wherever you're tuning in from. In case you're just tuning in, you're watching Shannon and I. We are in this Va-Va-Vroom, your virtual events, because, we have had many people ask us questions, whether from our clients, or our community members or potential experts who ask the same question. So we just finished answering the question about how to make it more engaging. Now there's another popular question that comes around, because this is big, especially if, you're working with sponsors, especially if you're working with, exhibitors or any kind of stakeholders, even attendees. I mean, even let's just say you're event organizer or planner, you have a client who's thinking about this too, right? How can we get greater ROI from our virtual events? Do you get that a lot, Shannon?
We don't host events just because we love them, right? We obviously love hosting events or we wouldn't be in the industry, but you don't generally spend all that time, money, and effort, because events are a lot of time, money, and effort, just to do it because you enjoy it. There's generally a purpose in mind. And a lot of times branding and brand elevation and brand recognition are a big reason that a lot of event organizers, sponsors, exhibitors participate in events and host events. However, there is that ROI aspect. You want that return on investment. And Zeph, I love what you always say about helping to get that return on investment. I'm not going to steal your line. So talk to us about your take on ROI.
So this is what we were thinking. I was thinking about this ROI and versus ROR, which is return on relationships. One of the big things I talk about whenever people come to me and go like, virtual events, yeah, you go on Zoom, and I'm thinking like, okay, Zoom is one of the many tools, but there's many layers of, of getting ROI in event. I want to talk about one because I think it's very important. It starts here, which is pretty much the relationship part. For me, it's just not about relationship, attending a networking event and go like, hi, Shannon, nice to meet you. Bye. We'll see you next time. We'll see you around, No, that's not enough. What needs to happen is making that yes connection. Yes. And I'm going to put this yes with a dollar sign like this. I am going to put it up on screen just in case, right? You need a visual to help you see what I mean. Yes, connection with the dollar sign. Whatever the dollar sign translates for you, right? We're talking about, think of ROI or ROR, return on relationship. For me, if you're thinking about, okay, how can I get, or leverage, how can I get more ROI, greater ROI from the events, right? So the virtual events. For me, it's about start with making yes connections, because we attend virtual events, we meet people, right? If y'all agree, say yes in the comments. Okay, this is how we engage. Say yes in the comments.
Well, throw us a thumbs up.
Say yes in the comments. So for me, it's about making a yes connection. Can you attend networking events and, start connecting? Because some of the virtual event tools, it allows you to connect with people. Yes, but that doesn't really happen. Like things don't really happen, or the ROI doesn't really start to flow until you make a yes connection, right, Shan? Because yes connection means differently for other people. Maybe it's like, hey, can we have a coffee chat? Yes, we can. Or can we have hey, we would like to book you to speak at our next virtual event. Boom, that's a yes connection, right? Or
how about we schedule a demo?
I was just gonna go to that. I'm like, hey, Shan, can we schedule a demo with you? So that's a yes connection. Do you agree, people? If you do agree, please say yes, even if you're watching on replay. Okay, say yes, because for me, if you want to get to your ROI, you have to find the right people, right? That right yes connection. So we kind of have to show up for one another. So we just have to go attend the sessions, engage. It starts with the engagement, and then you go like, oh, I like what Zeph said just now. Let me just follow up. Don't forget to follow up, right? Because follow up is part of making a yes connection. So yes connection with the dollar sign. In case you didn't see this, I'm going to put this up again. Yes with a dollar sign connection. Because if you're not making a yes connection, then you're just networking, you're just meeting people. But when
you got to think of it as part of your lead funnel, right? Like you're not just going straight to the sale. Sometimes you can go straight to the sale if it's a low barrier to entry kind of sale. But that yes connection is one of those first steps in your conversion funnel, your lead generation funnel. Is like, let's get them through. First, they're attending the event. What's the next step we want them to do? We want them to book a demo, or we want them to schedule an appointment or schedule a coffee, or maybe it's something like download my white paper, right? Making that connection, getting you to the next step to start making those conversions and start building a relationship with someone. Because at the end of the day,
and talk a little bit about, because when we talk about this with our audience right here, if they're tuning in, we go like, ROI, make yes connection, but how, what what kind of tools are available to us, and what do we use, what kind of tools available to us to make this yes connection. So one of the things leading to that, and I'm going to let Shannon tell you a little bit more about what tools or what features or what's available to you out there that you can leverage. One of the most important things is the art of showing up and engaging with people and building that relationship, the one-on-one, so that you can have a yes with a S $ connection. So I'm going to let Shannon share that with you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and before I jump to that, to expand on what you're talking about with those yes connections is, I love asking this, show of hands, even in the audience, throw us a hand in the chat if you agree that I unanimously get 100% of hands up whenever I ask this question when I'm giving a presentation on this kind of topic. How many of you have spent more money or have overpaid maybe a little, which is spending more money, or have stopped shopping around, or just gone with, without even looking at other options, have just gone with a provider of a service or provider of some kind of product because you knew that person personally, right? You had a personal relationship or personal recommendation. Hands up, right? If you have bought something that was more expensive, have invested in a service without really shopping it around because you personally knew that person and trusted them and had built a relationship with them, throw that hand up, right? Because at the end of the day, people connect with people, people buy from people. People buy from people and brands that they know and they trust and they believe in, right? Unless you're like a Nike of the world, built this huge brand that has established that trust, but they had to start somewhere with that trust, right? And so at the end of the day, that's what Zeph's talking about with those yes connections. Build those relationships, work on that ROR, that return on relationship, because that ROR is going to lead to the ROI. And then when we're talking about the calls to actions and the conversions, especially in virtual, you have these great tools at your disposal. I know at encaptiv, the conversion is a huge thing for us. So in every single session, in every single expo booth, at the roll-up event level, on different pages for our sponsors, there are different calls to action that can be added and customized. So you can have all kinds of calls to action throughout your event. And technology is a great tool for this. And if you find people in the moment and convert them in the moment when they're most excited, and that conversion doesn't have to be a sale, that conversion can be that yes connection to a coffee or a meeting or a next step, then you're going to have a much greater success rate. Just our initial numbers here at encaptiv of what we've seen with this is we're seeing an on average 56% conversion rate when you're catching people in the moment of excitement. You let them walk out the room, you have a much lower chance of getting that conversion. So it's focusing on building those connections, building those relationships. And we've got all kinds of tools built in for that too, to our technology, not only ours, but others on the marketplace as well. The live networking tools, the static networking tools, direct messaging, connecting on LinkedIn, like all kinds of stuff. When you're looking for a platform, make sure you're searching ways to make those yes connections.
I love that you mentioned that. And I was just like, if she doesn't mention that, I'm going to mention that. All right. So for everybody who's watching this right now, if you're wondering, like, what am I watching? You're watching Va-Va-Vroom, your virtual events. If you have questions about planning or organizing or managing your virtual events, because I want to tell you this, if you just use let me just rephrase this. If you're just using an online meeting tool, doesn't matter what it is that you choose, all right? An online meeting tool versus a virtual event tool. There is a huge difference in delivery and event experience. And we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes here. But what Shannon mentioned just now about when you make your selection for your virtual event, platform, one of the big things we talked about, the tools that can help you kind of engage a little bit more and make more yes connections, things that are built into the platform, calls to action, networking tools, actionable call to actions that people can just go to one place and follow through with the call to actions. These are the things that you really, really need to think about when you are trying to elevate your experience, your virtual event experience. And this is what we're talking about next, because this is the next question that Shannon and I get a lot.
And Jeff, before you bump into that question, we have actually designed an event tech guide and workbook at encaptiv that helps you understand how to select the right tech for you. And even if that's not encaptiv, that's okay, because we want to make sure that you're having a technology that's going to help you deliver the experience you want. So if you want that free tech guide and workbook, drop it in the chat, say, send me the event tech guide and workbook. I want to figure out the best event experience, virtual event experience. We'll get that right over to you.
There you go. That is golden in itself, right? So here's the question I was talking about. All that leading to people often ask us this: how can I make my virtual event memorable and exciting? Here's one thing we will tell you: we don't like to do or produce boring events. No, we don't do boring events for sure. If you have attended any of our events, drop a comment and let us know, how you like our events, because we would prefer not to produce boring events. And when we work with clients or, communities that want to put up a great, engaging, elevate the virtual event experience, there's a lot of things that, we can suggest and we can work with you guys. But here are some of the things that we want to share with you about, how do you make it more memorable and exciting so that it's not boring, right? Shannon, do you want to get us started with that?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, follow the advice we already gave you. Don't just stream. But one of the big things that, especially in virtual, just does not fly is content overload. There is so much free content out there now on the internet, and so much content available on demand, that people aren't really attending for content. They are. It's still one of the top two reasons. Networking and education are still among the top two reasons people attend events and virtual events. However, if you are just shoving content down their throat on a screen, one way, all day, for days on end, or even a half day or a full day, snooze fest. People can't hold attention that long, right? Nope. We know from communication studies, I'm a communication nerd, studied communication, taught communication, but we know from communication studies that people have about a 20-minute period where they can just keep taking information in, and they can only really process 3 to 5 big main points at a time. If you just keep shoving information at them, they're going to shut down. So break up your content with fun, with excitement, with engaging activities. These could be different gamification activities. We have a great partner with Engamio. Shout out to Connie and the folks at Engamio. Add some gamification into your event. Add some fun activities. You can do bingo, you can do paint and sip virtual, you can do trivia virtual, you can do, cooking demos are very
You can talk, and while you talk, I'm going to show them on screen just for a short while what Shannon is talking about, because we did this for one of our events. Right, Shannon?
Yeah. Yes, but the key is to make it multi-dimensional and to inject fun. Don't just keep having session after session after session after session of information. Break that up with some fun. Break that up with some activities that, like we were saying before with the engagement, that get your attendees on screen, that get them participating, that make them part of the fun and the action. Like we had a word search, we had a puzzle, we had selfies, we had all kinds of fun things, and we built contests around this and actually gave out prizes to the people who won these contests. So make it fun, make it exciting, make it engaging in ways that are going to get your audience participating. Don't make it so one note. And a lot of this comes down to the design and the strategy and the planning of your event. So this is the early stages of things. What do you have to add, Zeph? I know there's so much more this is something we could go on and on and on about. But
definitely a lot to say. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of things. You can get really creative, right? Get really creative, because, of course we cannot, it's not the same with having, the in-person location, but what we can do is mimic a lot of similar activities online. What we're trying to tell you is let's not have a boring virtual event, because you can get really creative. You can have creative people to do a paint and sip. You can have comedy hour. You can have, I don't know,
we had a great comedian. It's so Victor.
Yes, absolutely. So all that is possible. But the bottom line is, the question is, you need to get all these ideas together, strategize. It can be overwhelming if you're doing it on your own, right? Sometimes you need to reach out and get guidance, and that's what Shannon and I do, and especially if you're thinking about a conference, a virtual summit, or maybe a vendor trade show. I don't know what comes to mind. Can it all be done? Absolutely. You just need to get a little bit more creative, get a little bit more strategy, work with people like Shannon and I, who have had experience, producing all this different type of events. It's just not a presentation type of event, right, Shannon, where people come and speak, but it's the whole trade show, the vendor type exhibition. You can definitely do that. It can almost feel like you're on TV, doing a lot of engagement with your audience, get your information out there, resources to the people who are looking to connect with you. This is a great way for them. One of the big things, Shannon, when I started with live streaming, live broadcasting, we often tell people, our audience, and I think this applies in the virtual event space also, is that it gives us the opportunity to pre-qualify, right, the people who we want to work with, right, especially the vendors or the products that we want to buy or engage in. So there's a lot of opportunity with virtual events, but you just have to think a little bit bigger so that you can elevate the virtual event experience. That said, we want to kind of wrap it up, but I just want to say, before we go, we do want to talk a little bit about how you can level up your next virtual event, right? So if you're wondering, like, what do you mean, Zaf? Well, if you're really thinking in 2023, I don't know if you're thinking about first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, you're planning a nice virtual summit conference, which is non-traditional, but really, creatively, and want to level up your virtual event so you can have this Va-Va-Vroom virtual event experience.
Rev it up.
Definitely. This is what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to let Shannon talk a little bit about it, because I'm very excited about it, because we get so many people reaching out to us like, we want to have events, but we really don't know where to start. We don't know how to strategize. We'd love to work with you or your team to to leverage, our virtual event experience to get a better ROI, work with our stakeholders. How do you start? Where do you start? I'm going to let Shannon tell you.
Yeah. And so really what we've done is, being the founder of encaptiv, we built this event technology, and we built it in a way to help drive audience engagement, right? To elevate your events. And we started to learn that, especially when we got thrown into the virtual space, we originally built this technology for in-person and expanded to virtual and hybrid, that people needed help developing a virtual experience. And that's why we built partnerships with people like Zeth, and we do virtual events live, with Engamio, with Publio, who does event marketing, right? That's why we started reaching out and building all these partnerships, because we learned that it's more than just taking the tech off the shelf and adding your agenda and stuff and putting it into place. It's about building and designing an experience around it. And so we wanted to really come together, and this is where Zeth and I came together, to develop a package that, for the price of what most people pay for just their event tech, we are providing you with the event technology, with event design, strategy, planning, project management, production strategy, production setup, actual day of production for your event, as well as post-event insight review and a post-event meeting. So we've got a lot in this package, and we just do not have the time to go through everything that's there. But this bundle gives you everything you need to really design an engaging and exciting and memorable event for your audience. And guess what? The tech and the tech setup and the production are all bundled in there for you. And right now, for this week only, we are running a 25% off package. That is a huge huge savings for this. And we even have payment plans available. So today we got to share just a few tips with the short amount of time that we have, but we really can take our 30 plus years of event planning and live streaming and expertise in the event space and help you bring your event to life and make it a really exciting experience that drives audience engagement, makes those yes connections, and increases ROI and makes it a great, memorable, in a good way, experience.
Yes. Absolutely. And you know what, folks, just like we mentioned earlier, the reason we picked those 3 questions, because those are the most common questions that we get as, producers and virtual event planners, like, audience engagement. Why? Because whenever you do an event, you have people, right, attending your event. So you're trying to figure out, like, how do we get our people more engaged? We just don't want them to come and just leave and then they forget about the event. Well, this is the opportunity for you to level up your virtual events and create more audience engagement. And then you're also, like I said, it's just not about just people attending your event, right? You want to kind of build a lasting, sustainable relationship. Therefore, you need to make more yes connections. So the yes connections it's all built in there. And of course, elevate the event experience. No boring events. So as you can see, event design and strategy, planning. Oh, the technology, like you said, Shan, technology itself, is a monster by itself. So people need to learn a little bit more how that can be leveraged to optimize the ROI, right? We guide you in all of this. Production strategy, production studio setup. Most of the time when we talk about these, of course, I don't blame you all if you get this all glossed over and go like, oh, what? And then most of the time, people will still come back to us and go like, we'd like your help to get us to where we need to be with our events. And this is what we're talking about. Leveling up your virtual events, your Va-Va-Vrooming.
Yes, don't go it alone. We're here to help accelerate your planning, rev up your ROI, and make a really, really great virtual experience. We have a half-day package available. We have a full-day package available. And again, this week only, 25% off payment options are available. So go check it out. If you want to learn how to level up your next event and get that Va-Va-Vroom going, give us a thumbs up in the chat over here. Give us a clap. Say Va-Va-Vroom.
Drop us a comment. Drop your questions. Folks, I'm going to tell you this, all right? This is where probably for some of you go like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm going to tell you this. If you're a serious organizer, planner, and you've been doing your virtual events the old 80s kind of way, all right, let's get this leveled up, all right? If you want more people to remember your event because you've decided to elevate the event experience, that people go like, oh my God, you just have to attend that event because you know what? It was really cool. I won and I'm looking forward to the next event. Then talk to us, all right? This week only 25% savings. It's not about just getting into the whole, I'm going to get this bundle. No, we really want you to give yourself the opportunity to level up your virtual events. If you've never worked with a team or people who can actually guide you to get better ROI, you're just not spending time and money on a virtual event just because you want to have a virtual event, but for a more lasting ROI, then we're here to help Va-Va-Vroom your virtual events, right? And folks, one of the big things about virtual events, making yes connection. I'm going to tell you this. If you do it right and find the right team to coordinate, help you strategize, plan, it may take a little bit more effort on your part and your team's part. But I'm going to tell you, when you do your next event, you'll be like, oh my God, I should have done this earlier because I wouldn't have wasted money. I wouldn't have wasted time because you have invested the time and money in the right place, because now you have a sustainable virtual event and plan to help you move forward and level up your virtual event. Boom, my drop. All right, everybody, boom, 25% savings this week only. If you have any questions at all, drop it in the comments below wherever you're catching this live broadcast. Ask Shannon, ask me, and then we can always book a one-on-one call and answer more questions should you have any. Any last thing, Shan? I'm excited.
One thing I will add is when people think about the price that they're going to spend on event tech or some kind of package like this, like I said, the price that we're charging for this package is what most people pay just for their event technology. So you're getting a lot with this package. But even when people look at just the event technology and they go, oh my gosh, how am I going to afford this? One of the things we find with a lot of our customers is that sponsorships alone cover the cost of the technology.
Yep.
And if you do it right, you're not only going to cover the cost of the technology, or for example, this package, if you're purchasing this package, you're going to see greater ROI as a result of those things, of booking this package, of using that technology and doing it in the right way that drives that engagement and that experience. And then you're going to be happier, your sponsors are going to be happier, your exhibitors are going to be happier, your stakeholders, your attendees, your audience, and you are going to have more yes connections and greater ROI at the end of the day.
And I think the most important thing is this, right? You don't have to do it alone. In order for you to excel and level up your virtual event, because this is constantly what we experience with our clients, they start off with wanting to do the event themselves. But when we start assessing their plans and strategy, there's a lot of loopholes, and we'll always end up telling them, this is the truth. I don't know if you experience this, Shannon, but I'm going to tell it from a We Do Virtual Events life perspective. I always get people, where I say to them, you're leaving money on the table because you're not doing X, Y, or Z, because you're trying to scheme on something else, but you're putting a long-term potential income earning strategy just because And most of the time when I sit down and help my clients go through the virtual event planning and strategy, they go like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that it's a possible thing. That's why I'm not thinking about it. And I'm thinking, that's why you need to work with somebody who can help you with, leveling up your virtual event production. That said, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in to Va-Va-Vroom, your virtual events with Shannon and Zav. And if you have any questions, you can always go to, you can actually watch this replay at live.vavavroom.com. All right. You can, again, watch live.vavavroom.com. And then if you have any questions about the bundle itself, you can just go to Va-Va-Vroom.com without the live in front to get all the information that we've laid out for you on the website. Okay. Any last thing, Chan, before we go?
Nope. Va-Va-Vroom.
Va-Va-Vroom, everybody. We'll see you at the next broadcast or answer your questions on a call. Bye.